Hi, my name is Danielle Pape. I have been in the fitness industry for over 20 years and I own an in-home personal training and health coaching business, and I've had that for about 13 years now. I have worked in all kinds of facilities such as studios, spas, cruise ships, chiropractor and doctor's offices, hospital settings, and also for corporate gyms. So I've been all over the place. I teach almost anything except for dance aerobics, so no Zumba for me. But I teach yoga, Pilates, bar, cardio strength, cardio kickboxing, basically anything else. I have some experience in teaching over the years. So I try to incorporate all of those activities into my training. I'm a certified personal trainer, certified health coach, and also certified nutrition coach for athletes. So we are going to get started. We're going to start with some just basic nutrition to begin with. So we have the macronutrients that I'm sure that you've heard of, which are the carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins. So if you break it down for the day, you should really be getting anywhere between 50 and 65% of carbohydrates, about 15 to 25% of proteins, and about 25 to 30% of fats. So however you break that down, but you want to make sure that wherever it is, it equals 100%. So starting with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So if you are looking at a food label, which I'm going to show you here, and it says on there total carbohydrates are 33 grams. So the example for that would be that you would multiply 33 grams by 4, because it's 4 calories per gram, and you would get 132. 132 of those calories from this bag of oatmeal will be from carbohydrates out of 170. So that's quite a bit of carbohydrates, but that's okay. So we need carbohydrates in our bodies to fuel ourselves for energy. So usually I don't recommend a low carbohydrate or a no carbohydrate diet, especially if you're someone that is very active, because we need that. Proteins consist of things like meats, eggs, dairy, beans, and fish. It is also 4 calories per gram. So if you're looking at some sort of food label, you'll know that you can scan yourself over for that one. It had 4 grams of protein in that little bag of oatmeal. So you would multiply that by 4 and you would get 16. So 16 of those calories are coming from the protein. We need proteins to help us rebuild and repair our muscle tissue around our exercise or just in general. Protein also helps us feel full when we eat a meal, so it's really important to have protein with your meal as well. Fats consist of healthy and unhealthy fats. So healthy fats would be considered like nuts, fatty fishes, avocados, olive oil, whereas unhealthy fats would be cheeses and ice creams, or anything processed like crackers, or things that are in baked goods such as like cupcakes and cakes and brownies. So those are the unhealthy fats that we're talking about. Fats, however, equal 9 calories per gram, so it's a little bit higher than the carbs and the proteins. So the thing is that because it's so high in the calorie content, if I were to have a few handfuls of nuts and there are 150 calories per handful of nuts, that would be about 450 calories, where I could have like a small piece of chicken and maybe a quarter cup of rice and some vegetables, and that would be less than 400 calories. So because it has more calorie content in it, it adds up very quickly. So you just want to be careful that you don't overeat how much fats you're getting in. And then we do need a certain amount of fats though in our body for energy, and it also helps us to feel full when we're eating a meal. Typically, you want to aim for 5 to 6 small meals a day. So they don't have to be large meals. You don't have to sit down and have lasagna at every meal, but 2.5 to 3 hours in between meals helps us to keep our metabolism high, and it also helps us to keep our energy levels up. So you're basically eating to fuel your body, which is very important. it is also important to try to eat a carb and a protein at every meal. So that helps slow down your digestion. It also helps to increase your metabolism as well. So for example, if you had a whole wheat sandwich, bread, or a wrap with turkey, your turkey would be your protein, and your bread or your wrap would be your carbohydrate. Or if you had an apple and some peanut butter or some low-fat milk. So your apple would be your carb, and your peanut butter or your low-fat milk would be your protein. So you can group things together like that, a carb and a protein, at every meal, spaced sporadically throughout the day. So when we are looking at our day, and we're trying to get enough servings of your vegetables and your proteins, and you don't really know how much to eat, well, they have changed the food pyramid that used to be around to something called MyPlate. So when you're looking at your plate, I'm going to show you an example here. Here we go. We see that the vegetables and the fruits are all taking up half of the plate. And then the whole grains are a quarter of the plate, and the proteins are a quarter of the plate. So that's how they want you now to try to figure out what your meals are to look like. And then you see that your healthy fats are used sparingly, and they have water over here for the drink. But even a glass of low-fat or fat-free milk would be okay. When you are looking at your carbohydrates, you want to try to make sure that you're eating brown. So if you go to Chipotle and you could pick out white rice or brown rice, usually you pick brown. So again, it doesn't go through your body as fast, digestion is slower, and your body processes it a little bit better. Same thing with breads. So I also have another label here for you. When you're looking at breads, it's very tricky because even some of the ones that say multigrain or whole grain are not multigrain or whole grain. So if you see here, see down here, the first ingredient says whole wheat flour. And that's what you want it to say when you're looking at any sort of bread like that. So if it says enriched white flour, you know that it's not whole wheat. That first ingredient should either be whole grain or whole wheat to know that it is. Same thing with like pastas. You can get brown pastas instead of white pastas, and it's a really nice substitute. Brown rices instead of white rices. Servings of fruit. So you want to try to aim for your fruits to come from the fruit sources itself instead of from juices. So when you're drinking orange juice or apple juice, instead of eating the orange or the apple, you're going to increase your sugar intake by a lot. So it's healthy if that's the only thing that you want to, if that's your option, instead of eating the fruit, then that's okay in moderation. But if you have the choice between choosing the orange or the orange juice, it's always better to choose the fruit instead of the juice because of that reason. Your servings of vegetables, you want to try to eat either frozen vegetables or fresh vegetables. So frozen are basically fresh but frozen, right? But a little bit easier because then you can just throw them right in the microwave and you're good to go. If you get canned vegetables, a lot of times you'll see that there's a lot of sodium in them. So if you're looking at this food label, you're going to go all the way down to sodium, and you can see here that it has 90 calories and it has 370 grams of sodium. So when you look at a food label, you want to try to make sure that the food has no more than twice the amount of calories. So really, this can shouldn't have more than 180 milligrams of sodium. So a good way, if this is your only option, is to take it and you put it in a strainer and you just rinse it off with water to try to get some of that extra sodium off of there. So again, if it's your only option, it's better than nothing, but we want to try to aim for fresh or frozen before canned. For your dairy, we want to try to aim for low fat or fat free. So the whole fat milk has a lot of fats in it and not necessarily the good fats. So again, if that's your only option, it's okay, but you want to try to aim for the low fat or the fat free instead. For your servings of protein, you want to try to aim to get your protein from lean sources. So chicken, lean pork, fish, beans are good. So we want to try to limit your red meat to about twice a week. And it's kind of hard to do sometimes, especially when you're not the one cooking, but ideally that you want it all to come from lean turkey. And then the fats, you want to try to stay with the healthy fats. So I usually tell my clients if they can eat 2 fats a day, if they can pick 2 fats a day, usually you stay with that because you're going to get fats in other places such as your meats. So say if you have avocado toast in the morning, avocado is a healthy fat, so there's one, and you want to drizzle some olive oil on your salad in the afternoon, then those are your 2 fats. So the rest of the fats are off. Or if you want cheese on your breakfast burrito, there's 1. And if you want to have ice cream later, there's 2, right? So those are your 2 fats. When I'm giving my clients advice about their nutrition, I always say moderation is the key. So we will always have holidays, we will always have parties, we will always have things where we can't really control the setting that we're in. So if you can eat healthy 80% of the time, then 20% of the time you can choose some foods that are not so healthy and not feel so bad about doing that. Okay, now we're gonna get to the fitness, sports, nutrition. So in order to get the most out of fueling your body, you want to, again, aim for that carb and the protein. So a friend of mine, her daughter is in high school and she plays basketball. So she would get up in the morning, she would have breakfast, and then she would have lunch at about 11, and then she would get done with school at 3, and basketball started at 3:05. And then she had to go all the way till 6 o'clock, and by the time she got home around 7 o'clock, she was starving and depleted, and she was crabby. But she ran out of fuel, right? So she's going from basically 11 o'clock when she had lunch to 7 o'clock without any sort of fuel whatsoever and playing basketball for 3 hours in between. So she was exhausted. So I recommended that maybe she try to eat a bigger lunch, and then if she could have a quick snack in between school and basketball, and then a snack on her drive home from basketball immediately afterwards, she might not feel so depleted, and it worked. So you just have to make sure that the idea of eating is to fuel your body for the exercise that you are doing. Another friend of mine, her son was getting really dizzy and dehydrated during practice, and come to find out he wasn't drinking enough water, right? So we're all a little guilty of this, I think. But water has many benefits. So it decreases cramps and fatigues. It helps to eliminate toxins from your body. It helps to keep your muscles, ligaments, and joints lubricated. Helps to metabolize fat, and it also is 0 calories. So you're not drinking a 130 calorie Gatorade. Instead, you're gonna drink water that has no calories at all. So the recommendations for water are 3.7 liters a day for a man and 2.7 liters a day for a woman. So just keep that in mind. And also when you are exercising at a moderate to vigorous intensity, you're aiming to drink a little bit more than that. So you're really going to try to drink 8 to 16 ounces per hour of extra water if you are vigorously working. So when we talk about a pre-exercise meal or a pre-exercise snack, you want to eat like a healthy meal about 4 to 6 hours before you do your event, your big event, right? So you want to eat it early enough where it's still digesting, you're still getting fuel, but you have no intestinal issues. So that can happen where sometimes people will eat a big meal an hour or two before they go to do a race or a big event, and then they can't because their stomach is cramping so bad. A snack can be eaten 30 to 60 minutes before you do your exercise to help increase that energy supply. So an example of this would be a plain Greek yogurt with berries and granola, or a chocolate milk, or oatmeal with milk. So there's your carb and your protein. The chocolate milk actually has a carb and a protein together, so it's a really nice thing if you can get it in, again, low fat or non-fat. If you are exercising longer than 60 minutes, you probably will need some sort of fuel while you're exercising to try to keep those energy stores elevated. So an example of this would be coconut water or sports drinks or gels or bananas or raisins. So a few months ago, I did a 40-mile bike ride around Lake Chautauqua, and every hour I stopped to have either those power balls, or I had a couple energy gels with me, so I would have one an hour, or a banana. So you want to try to fuel every hour if you're going longer than 60 minutes. Otherwise, your body just starts depleting and it starts tapping into your muscle stores for energy, which you don't want because you don't want to slow your metabolism down. I also drank Gatorade. I made sure to drink Gatorade or some sort of Powerade or something with electrolytes while I was on this trip, not just water, to help replenish that as well. A post-workout snack is to help restore your energy stores and help to repair muscle tissues. So this is also if you're doing a moderate to vigorous activity. So if you're not doing a moderate to vigorous activity, say you just go for a 45-minute walk around the block and you're kind of winded, but you're not really exercising like too hard, then you probably don't need a snack afterwards. However, if you're doing a really hard game or you are doing a race, then you probably will want some sort of post-exercise snack about 30 minutes after exercise, within 30 minutes after exercise. And this would be like a high carbohydrate and a protein meal, such as a peanut butter banana smoothie, apple with almond butter, or a protein shake with, say, an orange. Then you can have a high carbohydrate meal 2 hours after you get done doing that, again, just to help repair and restore all those energy stores. A great source for further information online is ChooseMyPlate.com. So that is the government site, but there's tons of information on there. You can find your calculated caloric allowance, how many calories you should be taking in a day based on your weight and your height and your age. Your BMI calculator, quizzes, healthy meal planning and cooking, and portion information. So myplate.com or .gov, sorry, ChooseMyPlate.gov would be the place to go for that. And some other main points to remember is when you're eating for your exercise or your sport, your main goal is to create the best possible way for your body to work, right? So you're eating to fuel your body. So you do need to eat. You need to make sure that you're eating, and especially around that activity. Carbohydrates are your body's preferred energy source because they're digested rapidly. So again, make sure that you're eating carbohydrates. We're not taking them out completely. Proteins help stimulate muscle protein synthesis and help to repair that muscle tissue. So again, protein is very important. Try snacks and meals out before your big event. So for example, I did a half marathon a few years ago, and it was in the evening where normally I would do it in the morning, and I was trying to eat trail mix and nuts and stuff like that and I had a whole grain muffin. But the trail mix and the nuts hurt my stomach so bad while I was on this race because I didn't try it before the race. I had been running in the morning and this race was in the evening. So you want to try things out before your big event to make sure that it's working for you. And make sure that you're drinking enough water, which is also very important. And always listen to your body, always. So again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me and I would be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.